Hi you guys, Peculiar One here, and I'm starting project number 4. I'm going to be knitting a DS case for my niece. I made one for another niece, and it turned out wonderfully. She loved it, and of course now the other niece would like one, so who knows how far this is going to go. But here's what you need if you're going to want to knit along. I took my niece with me to Joann Fabric, and these are the colors she picked out. It's always best if you're going to be making something for someone to let them choose the colors. The first case I made, I chose green and blue, and the niece I gave it to actually ended up giving it to her sister, my other niece, because not only were there colors that the younger one agreed with a little bit better than the older one, but actually the case fit her Nintendo DS, but not the one it was intended for. I don't know if any of that makes sense to you, but anyway, this is the yarn that she picked out. It's Caron's Simply Soft, and it's in the shade of Watermelon. Of course it's Watermelon. How girly is that? And this one, it's the same. It's Caron's Simply Soft, and it is called Grape, appropriately. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and keep these so that when the case is all done and over with, I can write down instructions for her so she will know how to care for it. This is really super important. If you're making something for someone, you want to make sure they know how to care for it. If it's something that can go right into the wash and then right in the dryer, it's not that big of a deal. But if you're not going to remember, keep a hold of your tags so that when your project is all done being knitted, you can make your own tag and let them know exactly what it's made of and how to care for it. For this project, I actually found it online. This is crayondisaster.blogspot.com, and I am going to make sure I have their permission before I put this on YouTube. It's a super duper great pattern. It worked perfectly for the regular size DS, and I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that it works with just a little bit of minor adjustments perfectly for the DS XL, PSI, extra large, 350 calorie, whatever it's called. I didn't even write it down. But what you do need to make this DS case are 2 size 8 US or 5mm needles, a pair of scissors, and 2 buttons, which I don't have yet, but I'm going to wait until the very end. And I'm not sure if I'm going to make buttons out of some baubles or if I'm just going to go to the store and buy some super rad buttons to put on the case. Stay tuned, we're going to get started. Once you've collected all the items that you need for this project, you can go ahead and start. So what I did was I held 1 pink watermelon strand and 1 purple grape strand of yarn together. And I always used both strands at all times. And I used those 2 strands and I cast on 27 cast-on stitches. Now the pattern says you then work in stockinette stitch for 9 inches. Now in case you don't know, stockinette stitch is knit a row, purl a row, knit a row, purl a row, and so on until whatever as many inches as you need. Now the pattern does say 9 inches, but the pattern is for a Nintendo DS case, and I'm actually making the DSi XL case. So I went ahead and accounted for an extra inch, so I knitted in a stockinette stitch for 10 inches. This is what the front of your work is going to look like, the stockinette stitch, and this is what the back of your work will look like. So once you determine the size that you need, which is basically, this will be the part where your case is going to be, so you need to be able to fold your case up in it comfortably. Then what I did was 1 row I purled on the wrong side, or I purled 1 row of purl on the knit side, and it created this little seam. Then I continued to stitch the stockinette stitch for another 3 inches, 4 inches. Let me just double check here. Let's see. About 3 inches, yeah. And so, and then I bound off. Now you want to make sure you don't bind off too tight, because if you bind off too tight, your seam is actually going to pull smaller than your actual work. It will not be even. And I always leave a little tail because you just never know when you're going to have to rip it out if you find out you've done something wrong. So we have step 1, cast on 27 inches. Step 2, knit the stockinette stitch for, depending on the size of your case that you need, either 9 inches or 10 inches. Purl a row on the knit side, and then continue to knit in the stockinette stitch for either 3 or 4 inches, depending on the size of your case, and then cast off. And this is what your work will look like. And don't even worry about it rolling up, because this is actually going to work in your benefit for the next step. And the next step of the pattern is, it actually says, with the wrong side of the work facing, which would be this side, the purl side of the work is actually considered the wrong side of your work. So with the wrong side of the work facing, fold up the cast on edge 3 inches if you're going to be doing a DS case, and in my situation, since I'm making a DSI XL, I'm going to fold it up 4 inches, and then use the mattress stitch to seam along the edges here. Let's see if I can show you with one hand. There we go. This is actually creating the pocket that the DS is going to go in, right here. Okay, so here you can see I have my sides all seamed up using the mattress stitch. So this is actually the pocket where the gaming system is going to go. I know that you're probably wondering about this part of the pocket where the lip is actually curling out. Once you get the game system inside, the weight of the game system is actually going to pull this up, and it should curl in and kind of hug your DS or your DSI XL. So this is really cool and on its way to being a super rad case, but it's going to get better. The next step we're going to do is, remember where the seam is, where we purled right here? Well, you're going to take this top part and you're going to fold it not completely down to there, just a little bit before. And what we're going to do is, without counting this outside seam here, we're going to count 6 V's over, or 6 stitches over. So let's start right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our tapestry needle, and we're going to pick up these stitches, these loops from behind, and we're going to sew vertically on the back. And we're going to catch the back of these loops of the stitches from the inside to make pockets, so that about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different game cartridges can be stored in the case top. So let me go ahead and do it so I can actually show you what I mean, because I'm really bad at describing things. So hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, so what I did was I got myself some bobby pins, some regular old hairpins, so I could mark where my seams needed to be. And I'm just going to show you again. We're not going to count this very edge seam, but we are going to count the stitches in from that, or the V's. They look like little V's, so we're going to count 6 over. That should be about the size of a game cartridge. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I put a hairpin. And then I did the same thing, and I had a hairpin here, and obviously I have a hairpin here. And you're going to grab yourself a tapestry needle, but let me tell you, this is really big. I can't find one smaller right now, so that's the reason why I'm using this ginormous one. And let me see if I can open this up and show you my actual seam. I don't know. I don't know if you can see that or not, but what I did was I only used 1 strand. I used the purple plum yarn. No need for 2 here. This is not really an aesthetical thing, more for function. I started down there at the very bottom, and I grabbed a loop from the bottom, loop from the top, bottom top, bottom top, bottom top, bottom top, until I got to the very edge here. When I got to the very edge, I made a knot, and obviously I left some strings. Now, I'm okay with those strings. I will be cutting them, making them a little bit shorter, but I kind of think that's, I like it. I think it looks kind of cute. Plus, if for any reason it comes loose, then my niece can tug on it and pull it tighter, and then we don't have to worry about it coming open. So if you're following along the pattern from crayondisaster.blogspot.com, they actually recommend in the pattern that you sew mattress seam or mattress stitch. You sew your side here and your side here first, and then you go ahead and you make these pockets. Now for myself, I am very new at sewing as well as knitting. So I made a mental note the first time I did it according to the pattern, and I sewed up my seams on the edges, and I really struggled making these pockets. So that's why I did it this way, starting with the one in the center first, because I just felt like that was going to be easier on me. You make up your mind, follow the pattern to a T, or make some changes, whatever's easiest for you, but that's how I did it. So let me finish up these two seams, do my edges, and I still have to decide what I'm going to do right here, if I'm going to put some buttons or baubles, or how we're going to close up this bag. So I'll get back to you when I get my seams all sewed up. Okay, so I've sewn up all my edges, created pockets. There's actually only 4. I thought there was 5. Snipped my yarn and weaved in all the little edges of yarn that was hanging out. And I moved on to my strap. Now the pattern actually says to make an I-cord. I goofed, wasn't really paying attention, and I just made a regular old flat strap. I kind of like it. While I think an I-cord would add really cool visual interest, I'm sticking with what I have. I just cast on 3 stitches. I knit in the garter stitch, which is the knit stitch on both sides. It's nice and stretchy. See that? What I did was I knit the garter stitch for 10 inches, and then when I got to the 10th inch, I made a bobble, knit 1 more row, and then bound off. Once I had my strap, I sewed a snap on one end, and let's see here, a snap on the other end. Then I sewed the end without the bobble down, and the end with the bobble actually goes on the top. So that is what my case looks like as of now. I'm going to go ahead and sew the snaps on the other strap and sew the strap onto the case, and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, so here is my finished Nintendo DS case. Thanks so much for watching. If anyone decides to try it, please leave a comment down below. Let me know how it turns out. Even feel free to create a video and leave a video response. Again, thank you to crayondisaster.blogspot.com for sharing this fantastic pattern and for allowing me to put it on YouTube to share with the community here. You guys hop over. It's a really great blog. Again, it's crayondisaster.blogspot.com. That's where I got the pattern for this Nintendo DS case, and I really think my niece is going to like it. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy knitting. Bye-bye.